SKOL Vikings, let's win this game.
Vikings fans, there's a lot happening in the purple universe after a rough Sunday in Minnesota. There's an important explanation for why J.J. McCarthy and Andrew Van Ginkel weren't placed on injured reserve, a surprising defensive disappearance, a heated trade rumor with an AFC team, the standings tightening up, and a major quarterback mystery that's taken over the national headlines. But before we dive into all that, do me a quick favor. Hit that subscribe button. It's totally free and it really helps keep this conversation between fans alive. Smash that like too because it helps YouTube show this video to more Vikings fans across the country. And drop a comment because this space belongs to the Vikings nation. Let's start with the question that's been dominating fan discussions. Why didn't the Vikings put J.J. McCarthy and Andrew Van Ginkel on injured reserve? It seemed odd, especially with McCarthy sidelined for weeks with that nasty high ankle sprain. But the truth is, this situation is a lot more complicated than it looks. First off, there's an NFL rule many fans don't even know about. Each team can only place a player on injured reserve with a designated to return tag 8 times per season, or 10 if they make the playoffs. The Vikings have already used 6 of those slots. If they placed another player on IR without that designation, his season would be over. That's where the front office logic kicks in. Take Van Ginkel, for example. He's missed several games with a neck injury, but the team still believes he could return soon. If they put him on IR, he'd be out for at least 4 games and wouldn't even be allowed to practice. So the team decided to hold off to keep the door open for a quicker comeback. McCarthy's situation is even trickier. The rookie got hurt in week 2, and while he's already missed 4 games, the minimum required by the rule, placing him on IR would have meant no practice time, no rhythm, no reps. The staff wanted him around even in a limited role to keep his learning curve going. And let's be real, that extra 53-man roster spot people talk about, it's often overrated. Only 48 guys are active on game day anyway, so the benefit isn't as big as it sounds. Honestly, I get why fans are frustrated. It feels like poor roster management when key players sit out while spots stay tight. But when you understand the math behind it, especially with those limited return slots, it starts to make sense. And about McCarthy's recovery time, even the reports have been confusing. Adam Schefter first said 2 to 4 weeks, then claimed it was always expected to be 6. Nobody knows if there was a setback or if the injury was just worse than initially thought. What's clear is that by keeping him active, the team allowed him to keep practicing and possibly come back sharper. These are the kind of behind-the-scenes moves that look simple but hide a lot of strategy. And trust me, things get even more interesting next, because the next name in question vanished from the defense and left fans scratching their heads. Now, this one really shocked people. Ivan Pace Jr. suddenly disappeared from the defense against the Eagles. The guy had been a starter since his rookie year, and suddenly he didn't play a single defensive snap, only on special teams. For those following the team daily, that felt bizarre. Blake Cashman came back from injury, Eric Wilson kept his momentum going, and Pace stayed on the bench all game long. What happened? The staff decided to roll with the pair that had been performing better lately. Cashman had missed time with a hamstring issue, but brought leadership and consistency as soon as he returned, and Wilson, with his experience, locked down the position. In the locker room, Cashman downplayed it, calling Pace a great teammate and telling him to stay ready, even sharing personal stories of guys who went through the same and bounced back. That's classy, but the message is clear. Nobody's spot is safe. Stat-wise, it's a close race. Pace has 23 solo tackles to Wilson's 19, but Wilson leads in sacks 1.5 to 1 and has forced 2 fumbles, while Pace has none. According to Pro Football Focus, his grades in run defense and pass rush have dropped sharply compared to last season. Honestly, it's bittersweet. On one hand, seeing Wilson step up proves this defense has real depth, and that's a good problem to have. On the other, watching a young talent like Pace lose ground so quickly is tough. Fans are split. Did he really regress that much, or is this just a temporary rotation tweak? The Purple Faithful is buzzing online. Some think O'Connell and Flores should have kept him in the mix to maintain rhythm. Others believe this is the time to experiment with new combinations while the offense finds balance. What's striking is that the defense held its own even without Pace. Solid moments against a physical Eagles team. So maybe this forced break could be a turning point for him personally. Either way, fans want answers. And you'll only get this kind of insight here from people who feel the pulse of the stands, because things are heating up off the field too, and the next storyline involves one of the most talented players on the roster. Buckle up, because this one's wild. Jordan Addison is suddenly at the center of major trade rumors. Yep, the same wide receiver fans have been cheering for is now being floated as trade bait to an AFC team. The report came from Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated and left a lot of people in Minnesota scratching their heads. The logic? Addison's nearing the end of his rookie deal, and the Vikings already have Justin Jefferson making huge money. The front office might not want to invest another massive contract at the same position, no matter how talented Addison is. Add to that his off-field history, a suspension for an alcohol-related incident, and a fine for missing a team meeting in London. To be honest, Addison's talent isn't in question. Even with ups and downs, he's the kind of playmaker who can flip a game in one snap. The issue is whether the team is willing to manage the baggage. That's where the rumor gains traction. The Patriots are reportedly interested in a young, explosive, cost-controlled receiver. Breer mentioned Addison and Chris Olave as ideal fits, highly skilled wideouts who might not be long-term priorities for their current teams. But here's the twist. Inside the Vikings building, Addison is viewed as a draft home run. Local insider Darren Wolfson says the team has no plans to trade him and could even hand him a big extension, around $30 million per year. O'Connell keeps backing him publicly too, calling him part of the team's long-term offensive vision. That tells you everything. The coaching staff still believes in him, but fans know when rumors like this surface, it usually means somebody in the league is sniffing around. Reactions were instant. Half the Vikings nation thinks trading him now would be a colossal mistake. Giving up a rare talent while the offense is still finding itself? No way. The other half, more pragmatic, says if a first-round pick comes in, you have to listen. Either way, this chatter lit up the locker room. Addison now has to stay locked in and prove he's worth that future investment. And speaking of the future, the playoff picture is tightening, and every game feels like a must-win from here on out. Now here's the part that hits every fan hard, the standings. After the loss to the Eagles, Minnesota dropped to 3-3 and tumbled down the NFC playoff race. They're sitting 12th in the conference, tied with the Falcons, but behind on the head-to-head tiebreaker. The Cowboys and Panthers are just ahead, and it's a tight, messy pack. If the playoffs started today, the Vikings would be out. But the thing is, nobody's really pulling away in the NFC this year. One single win can change everything, which is why there's an urgent energy inside that locker room. Every week feels like a mini championship, and it doesn't get easier. A Thursday night road trip against the Chargers is up next on a super short turnaround. Los Angeles is also banged up, missing both starting tackles, running backs Najee Harris and Omarion Hampton, plus several key defenders. Still, that's a dangerous team at home. After that, it's the Lions on the road, Ravens at home, and Bears right after. All trending in the right direction. Then it's Packers, Seahawks, Commanders, Cowboys on Sunday Night Football, Giants, Lions again on Christmas, and closing out against the Packers. That's a minefield. Honestly, fans already know it's too early to think playoffs. The mindset now is simple. One game at a time, stay consistent, clean up the mistakes. That loss to Philly hurt, but it also proved the team can hang even with half the roster injured. The Defend the North crowd is split. Some believe in a comeback run, especially if the offense clicks and the defense keeps forcing turnovers, while others think the team's just treading water, waiting for guys to heal. Either way, Thursday's game could be a turning point. Win on the road in a short week and it could spark something big. Lose, and it could get ugly fast. And if that wasn't enough pressure, there's one more question hanging in the air. Who's starting at quarterback? McCarthy or Wentz? That saga just got even more intriguing. Now for the million-dollar question. Who's starting at quarterback against the Chargers? Carson Wentz or J.J. McCarthy? The week kicked off with total suspense, and even Kevin O'Connell seems undecided. With such little time to prepare, fans are once again split. ESPN's Adam Schefter reported that the expectation is for Wentz to start again, with McCarthy likely returning the following week against the Lions. The rookie still isn't fully healed from his ankle injury, and the staff doesn't want to rush it. But of course, it all depends on how Wentz responds after last week's roller coaster of a performance. That game against the Eagles was peak Wentz. Flashes of brilliance followed by total chaos. He threw wild interceptions, missed easy reads, and even tossed one backward out of bounds for a loss. But then somehow he bounced back in the second half and kept the Vikings in it. The issue? The offense went 1 for 6 in the red zone, and that just won't cut it in the NFL. O'Connell praised his competitiveness, but said they'll reevaluate his health before making any decision. McCarthy practiced in a limited capacity last week, but seems to be inching closer to a return. Honestly, this is the kind of decision that can define a season. Stick with Wentz and you're banking on experience and risk. Turn to McCarthy and you're throwing a banged-up rookie into the fire on the road in a short week. No easy answer. Among fans, it's chaos. The Vikings nation is split right down the middle. Some want Wentz to ride it out until the bye week. Others are begging to see the rookie back on the field. Some even argue for one more Wentz start, Then a full week of prep for McCarthy before Detroit. Schefter doubled down, saying if Wentz wins, McCarthy probably waits another week. If they lose, the pressure to switch will be immediate. Either way, Thursday's game could decide more than just the record. It might determine who leads this team moving forward. And trust me, the conversations behind the scenes are already heating up. After all that, you can feel it. Minnesota's at a crossroads. The staff's being cautious with McCarthy and Van Ginkel. Pace is losing ground. Addison's in the rumor mill. The standings are brutal, and the quarterback debate is raging. It's a lot to take in, and fans are feeling every bit of it. But if there's one thing this franchise has proven, it's that the purple spirit shines brightest when the odds are stacked. They've done it before when nobody believed. So here's the question now. Is this going to be another one of those seasons where the Vikings flip the script? Sound off below. This space belongs to everyone who lives and breathes the purple faithful. Stay tuned. SKOL Vikings. Let's go.